All right, so here's an MSM protocol that I'm developing. This would be a custom 3-month MSM protocol. This would be the third time that I've gone through an MSM protocol, so I think I can lend a hand to anybody who's just getting started. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see this here month by month. And I should preface all this by saying that this is completely customizable. This is not set in stone. You should approach this or any protocol with extreme flexibility and adaptiveness and resilience, because what works for one may not work for all. In fact, you can pretty much guarantee that what works for one person may not work for another. There's some stuff that we can share across the board for sure, but that to say that you should take this with extreme caution, with harm reduction practices in mind always. Doesn't matter what you're putting in your body, whether it's a psychedelic or MSM or food, anything, even water, right? We have to make sure we know what we're putting in our body, and we're going to do it scientifically and safely as much as possible. That's what this is all about. So MSM, if you're not familiar with it, you can look it up. I'm not here to educate the masses on what MSM is or why you should take it. I'm guessing if you're watching this video, it's because you've already done your research and you're looking for a specific protocol or an example of one that you might emulate. And this is a very good one to get started. Now, a couple things here that I will note. There's a few instances here where the titration is a little high, but this is what I'm saying. You need to be able to adjust this based on how you're feeling, and if you're receiving any sort of side effects, if you are getting gut rot or cramping, or if it's negatively impacting you in some way, you have to be able to adjust this. You have to be able to cut this number in half if you need to, or a quarter, or more, or not at all. Or after these first 3 days, which is your allergy tolerance testing phase, you have to be prepared to stop completely, because it's entirely possible that you may have a negative reaction on day 1, 2, or even 3, or even halfway through. You may have some weird side effect, because again, all of our bodies' chemistries are different. We're all unique individuals. Yes, we share a lot of commonality in our DNA and in our physiology for sure, but we're all individuals and we all have slightly different chemical makeups. So these supplements and medications are not going to react the same way for everyone. So just be prepared that you may invest in a kilogram of this powder, which is super cheap. So even if worst case scenario doesn't agree with you and you need to stop, you're out maybe 20 or 30 bucks. Not a big deal. Considering the benefits are insanely high with this stuff, it's worth a shot. But you have to be prepared to stop completely if things are not going well. So now that I've shared that disclaimer, let's take a look at the actual protocol. Another thing I'll note here, if I skip to the end real quick, ramping down as well. I found this to be a little heavy for some people. This might be a little heavy for me too, to go down. But then again, MSM is not addictive. It's not habit forming. You're not really going to see any significant side effects when you're ramping down. But just to be safe, we want to do it, in as much of a logical, rational approach as possible. So if this is too much of a ramp down for you and you're seeing some negative side effects from that, ramp down slower. Add another month to the protocol. This is already a fairly long protocol at 3 months, but if you need to add a 4th month to compensate for a more gradual decrease in your titration, of course, do that. Do whatever makes sense. This is your protocol. You're not going to copy my protocol. I don't want you to do that, because that's not going to work for you. I want you to take the basic idea of what I'm presenting here today, and I want you to adapt and formulate your own protocol. If this protocol specifically works for you and you don't have to do too many tweaks, great. But if you're finding that it's not working for you for whatever reason, adjust. Please adjust so that it makes sense for you. Now, let's take a look at the first month here. So first month, we're going very, very slowly, very easy, very gradual. up until the end of the month. So the first 3 days, as I said, is your allergy and tolerance testing. This is a super important phase, if not the most important phase of the whole protocol, because this is going to tell you, first of all, if the MSM is going to be, if your body is going to tolerate it, if you have any weird allergic reactions to it, God forbid anaphylaxis or something like that. And really, it's going to tell you, is MSM for me or not? If the first 3 days are hell and you're getting all kinds of issues, it's time to stop. That's your sign that you needed to know that MSM is not for you, and then you can cut your losses and start looking at other protocols with other supplements that might be better for you and your particular physiology. Now, one thing to note here is that yes, MSM has a very powerful detoxifying property to it. So you may get a, what do you call it? The Herxheimer reaction is possible. As the body is detoxifying and eliminating all of these toxins, it's entirely possible that you may develop weird pains and inflammation and maybe a cough or sniffles or whatever. Flu and cold symptoms are not impossible. Most people are going to tolerate it better, I think, than that. But it's entirely possible that you may get a sniffle, you may get a cough, you may get a weird reaction that's not enough to make you completely want to stop the protocol. But it's something that may be of concern, and you might be wondering, am I having a negative reaction to this stuff? It's important to know yourself, your body, enough to tell the difference between, is this an allergic reaction that I'm having? Am I getting hives? Am I getting difficulty breathing or weird swelling in my throat? Versus I've got a sniffle and it feels like my body is detoxifying. That you need to push through, right? That's something that will eventually fade over time as you go through the protocol. But again, if I would experience this acute cold or flu symptoms for more than a week, I would start to think, okay, I'm just having a bad reaction to the MSM, and this is not any sort of detoxifying side effect. This is something else. You really have to know your body enough to tell the difference. But the first week should be very gradual, very easy. You shouldn't be experiencing too much gastrointestinal discomfort, if any. And that's, again, something that you really need to evaluate for yourself and see, is this something that, okay, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm able to get through my day without too much trouble? Or is this something that's causing me to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes? Like, it's huge difference there, and a huge difference in your approach and whether you're going to continue the protocol or not. So first week, very easy, very gradual. Again, starting with 250 milligrams. All of these numbers are in milligrams just for simplicity and to work with my Excel formula here. So, and I'll go through the columns just so we explain everything. So month 1, it's a 3-month protocol, as I said, but you can adjust. You can go to 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. You could go down to 2 months. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but maybe you want to do a more intensive 2-month protocol and your body's able to adjust to that. Sure. I'd be a little cautious with that approach, but maybe you want to cut the dosage in half and just do a 2-month protocol instead. That would make more sense to me, but it's something you really have to figure out for yourself. So it's just, first column here is basically just month 1, 2, and 3. Second column, we have our days 1 through 90. So it's a 3-month protocol. This is just breaking it down by day. And then columns C, D, and E are the dosages. And again, in milligrams, everything's in milligrams here. And we start off for the first, 20 days or 19 days with a 1 dose per day approach. And then on day 20, 20 to 31, looks like we're doing 2 doses a day. And column E, on day 31 and on, we're doing 3 doses a day until the very end, the very last 2 days actually, and then we ramp back down to 2 doses and 1 dose on the very last day. Now again, this may be too abrupt for some folks. Turn these 3 days into 9 days. Triple it if you need to, so that it's a more gradual decline. Here we're going down 1500. We're going to get to this in a moment, but here we're going down 1500 milligrams per day. If that's too steep for you, reduce it down to a gram or 500 milligrams a day. If that makes more sense, do that. This is just what works for me as an example. You shouldn't necessarily be copying this exact protocol. Okay, enough with the disclaimers. Column F is the daily total of what we're taking. So the 3 doses combined is the total here in column F. And then column G is the titration amount. How much are we going up or down in a day is what that means. That's the total amount, right? And essentially that formula is basically how much did I take today minus how much I took yesterday. That's the total daily titration amount. And then column H is just some notes here for anybody that might be adopting a similar protocol, just to kind of give you an idea of where you're at throughout the protocol here. So we've got the first 3 days, again, our allergy and tolerance testing. After that, we go into a gradual increase, which continues throughout pretty much the whole protocol until the end. One thing to note here is that I've included some 2 to 3 day adjustment periods, which I think is very important. This is something I highly recommend that you do. So if you look at column G here, notice how some days, we're going up 250, 500 milligrams. Just to me, it might be pushing maybe a little much. 250 is a nice comfortable amount to go up. If you can, even 100 milligrams would be very comfortable. But for most people, they don't have any issue tolerating a 250 to 500 milligram increase per day. But you'll notice that some days there's no increase, and then some days it goes up to 1,000, 750, right? And then as I mentioned earlier, at the end, we're coming down pretty quick here. So again, all stuff that you need to be able to adjust on the fly, depending on how you feel, and then your own personal, view on the matter. If you disagree with any of my findings here, please adjust, do that. None of this is set in stone. None of this should be taken as gospel, and everything should be researched amply, thoroughly, until you've exhausted any possible further insight into the topic. That's how you do true science and not scientism. So going back to week number 1, let's just take a look and go through it day by day. So day 1, taking a very, very small dose. This is just to figure out, is this stuff going to react well for me? And again, most people have a fairly easy time as far as tolerance goes. If you go up too quickly, you will get some gastrointestinal distress, and that's your first sign to know, oh, I've done something wrong, or the medication, the supplement is not reacting well with my body. So those first 3 days are really crucial to know, is this protocol even going to work for me? Is this supplement even going to work for me? So you really need to be sensitive and pay attention to how your body's feeling those first 3 days. After that, we're going up. This is the beginning of the gradual increase phase. We're going to go up very slowly at the beginning, only 100 milligrams at a time, until we get to 1,500 milligrams on day 7. And again, we're only doing 1 dose per day here, preferably in the morning, because some people find the MSM to be stimulating. I don't personally experience that, but I know a lot of people do, so you want to take it generally in the morning on an empty stomach. If you find that the empty stomach is causing gastrointestinal issues for you, you can take it with food, drink, smoothie, whatever, milkshake, whatever you want to do. It mixes well with food, and it dilutes well with liquid. It does have a slight bitter taste, so I would not recommend a toss and wash. I don't know why people do toss and wash in the first place. I'm totally against it, but hey, it's your life. Do what you want. So day 8, we're ramping up a little heavier now. Sorry, day 7, we're ramping up a little heavier now. We're going to 200 milligrams increase. By day 8, 9, and 10, we're on to a 250 milligram titration increase until day 13. And by day 13, we're on a once a day 3,000 milligrams or 3 gram. And it's a lot of powder, right? So maybe mixing it with a smoothie or a drink makes more sense. But please don't do the toss and wash. It's quite honestly, it's stupid. Don't do it. Inhaling the powder, even risking inhaling any powder, not to mention that it doesn't dissolve properly when you do that. Not recommended. So by 2 weeks in, we're at 3,500 milligrams once a day, and we're going to start increasing our titration amount by an additional 250 milligrams. So now we're increasing by 500 milligrams per day. Like I said before, most people will tolerate this, but if you don't, for whatever reason, be prepared to adjust. And that's the name of the game here. That's the common theme that's going to keep coming back, is you need to be able to adjust. You need to be able to extend. You could decrease. I wouldn't recommend it. You should be able to extend and adjust anywhere, right? There's complete flexibility here. So days 16, 17, 18, 19, actually starting on day 17, or rather 18, we're going to have our first adjustment period. Now, the adjustment period should really match with the zeros here. So this is actually an increased day, so disregard this entry here, minor thing. But these 2 days are adjustment days. And you'll see this theme come back, right? I'll need to adjust I'll need to adjust my adjustment. But this column H is not 100% accurate here. I still need to refine this. But you get what I'm saying. There's an adjustment period to give your body a break to adapt, and generally those are after a certain milestone has been hit. So our first 5-gram dose on day 17, I guess that would be sort of an adjustment period. You're kind of starting that day with an increase. So anyway, so we're holding at 5 grams for those 3 days. We're actually increasing on the first one, day 17, day 18 and 19, we're holding just to see what's going on with the body, how we're doing. And then on day 20, our first split dose arrives. And this is just in time, because this may actually start to be a little much for the body to adjust, right? Not only have we gone up by 500 milligrams for 4 days in a row, but we held a fairly significant dose of 5 grams here. This is actually a maintenance dose. So at the very end of your protocol, I'll bring this up again at the end, but at the end of your protocol, you could continue a 5-gram a day maintenance dose. And some people find that helpful for an additional month after the protocol. They want to just keep going as a maintenance and then they ramp down. I've seen that done. I haven't done that myself. I don't really feel a need to do that myself, but some people do, and some people get insane benefits from that. So something to consider. But by day 20, we need a sort of a little break. Our kidneys and our liver, maybe our stomach, our digestive tract needs a little bit of a break. So now we're going to split our dosage up into 2, because if you can imagine a 5-gram dose and then following that up with, say, whatever, I don't even know what to put here, a 1-gram dose, 2 grams, that would start to be a lot. So rather than do that and risk side effects, we're going to split our dose, but we're going to keep increasing the titration by 500 milligrams. But now, much easier to process, much more time between the doses for the body to adjust, the metabolism to kick in. And then by day 21, we're going up to 3 grams twice a day, working up to 4 grams twice a day by day 25. And then we have another adjustment period. Basically, every gram we increase, we're going to take a couple days to adjust. By day 29, actually by the end of the first trimester, we will be at 5 grams twice a day. And then we'll hold that for another day or two adjustment period. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. By that point, we're at 10 grams a day, divided in 2 doses. And you at this point, okay, you should have a very good idea, is this stuff working for me? Is it helping with my inflammation? Is it helping with my digestion? Is it helping with my joint pain? Is it helping to decalcify the pineal gland? Am I sleeping better at night? Am I dreaming more? These are all good signs that the MSM is working for you. Another thing that people take it for is seasonal allergies, and a lot of people swear by it. If you're not experiencing any of those benefits, it might be time to consider stopping the protocol at that point. because by day 30 you definitely should be starting to notice some of the benefits starting to kick in. So assuming that things are going well for you and you're going to continue the protocol, by day 31 we're going to be at our split dosage of 3 doses per day, just over, again, 10 grams per day. So we're not going up by that much. We're only still going up by 500 milligrams. But here's another break for our kidneys, liver, stomach, the whole body. Let's break it up into 3 doses now, 3.5 grams. And let's work up over the next couple of days to 4 grams. At this point, the body should be well adjusted to being able to process and metabolize the MSM. So my theory here, and this has worked for me, but it may not work for you, is that by day 32, the body knows this substance well enough that a slight higher increase in titration shouldn't pose any issues. But again, we're all different, right? So what works for me may not work for you. By day 37, 5 grams, 3 times a day. Then we definitely need an adjustment period here. So I've left 2 full days to stay at that dosage of 15 grams a day, 3 doses. By day 43, we're at 6 grams, 3 times a day. By day 49, we're at 7 grams. By day 55, we're at 8 grams. And this is a lot, right? This is a lot of powder we're putting in our body here. If it was anything else other than MSM, I'd have some serious qualms about all this powder. This is a lot. But we're doing it for a very specific, important reason here. And if you don't know the benefits at this point, or the potential benefits, stop watching this video and go research MSM, because you need to know why you're doing this in the first place. By day 61, we're at 9 grams a day, so 27,000 milligrams, 27 grams per day. It's a heavy dose, 3 times a day. And this is why we're pausing again for 2 full days to allow the body to adjust to that dosage. Then we're going up 750 milligrams titration, but keep in mind that when you see the 750, it's not 750 in one shot. That would be a lot on the body. It's 250 milligrams per dose, right? It makes a lot more sense when you think about it that way. Now by day 67, we are at our peak dosage of 10 grams, 3 times a day, a total of 30,000 milligrams or 30 grams per day. Now, some people will go higher, okay? Some people will go to 40 grams 3 times a day. I sure hope they're splitting it up in 3 doses or 4 doses. If it was me and I was going that high, I personally wouldn't. But if I was, for whatever reason, I would split that up into 4 doses. I would never go more than 10 grams at a time. And actually, if you read the labels on the MSM package, even for horses, they don't recommend more than 10 grams per day per, I think, 300 kilograms of body weight or something like that. So even for a horse, 10 grams is a lot. So think about that. And we don't need to get into the horse equine medication versus the human medication. I think if you do enough research, you'll arrive at the same conclusion for that. I'm not going to talk about it here. So by day 69, we are at the 3rd day of our peak dosage, and now we're going to start ramping back down. One more thing to note is at this range here, at this point in the protocol, some people will stay on this for longer. And originally in my protocol, I had this holding for 5 days. And I think even in my first protocol, I had it holding for 10 days, which is quite common for people to hold the 30 gram a day dosage. They may hold it for up to 10 days. Okay, that seems like a lot to me. But if your research takes you down that route, and you feel that your body's able to handle it, all the power to you. Just be very, very careful. Always, always, always use harm reduction practices with everything that you do. MSM is no exception. Now, I will tell you a very short anecdote here that a friend shared with me, and this is why you need to invest in a good milligram scale. Even the ones that you'll buy online for $200 or $300 will still have a margin of error that could be as high as 5 to 10 milligrams or higher in either direction. So you think you're taking, this is especially crucial when you're taking small dosages of things, research chemicals. I mean, fentanyl, imagine the difference of a microgram could kill you. In this case, you know, most powders of this nature, I mean, this one is obviously not concentrated. We're taking grams at a time, not as much of a concern. But you want to know how much you're taking. You want to be as close to the accurate measurement as possible, preferably even volumetric measuring if you can. But for most people, get yourself a milligram scale. Even the ones they sell at the gas station, it's better than nothing. You know, if you're 10 to 20 milligrams swing, not a big deal when you're taking 10 grams at a time, right? Who cares about 20 milligrams? So at least you'll have a good idea of how much you're taking. Now, a friend of mine was using teaspoons or maybe even tablespoons, I forget, and he was measuring it. Oh, I take X amount of tablespoons per day. And he didn't realize how much powder is in a tablespoon. So when I did the math for him, I just enlightened him that the amount he was taking was 3 times. Okay, he was up to 90 grams a day. That's triple what the peak dosage is in my protocol. And that was simply for the fact that he didn't realize, oh crap, this tablespoon is way too much. Like he probably assumed it was a 10-gram scoop that he was doing, but it was actually a 30-gram scoop. Yikes. So that was enough for him to invest in a small milligram scale, and now he knows exactly or pretty damn close to how much he's taking. That had some really nasty side effects on him. Incessant, uncontrollable hiccups day and night where he couldn't sleep. You don't want to mess around with that. It did something to his diaphragm. So anything, like too much of any good thing can be bad. Doesn't matter what it is, water, air, whatever. Too much of anything can be bad. So just keep that in mind. You have to be scientific with this stuff. You have to write it down. You have to have a log. You have to know what you're doing, how much you're taking. Take this shit seriously. It's your life, right? You only get one body. You only get one stomach. You only get one liver. I mean, protect it. Take it seriously. So anyway, all that to say that by day 70, the decalcification of the pineal gland has been achieved or is beginning to be achieved. It's definitely made a difference. The joints feel better. They're more lubricated. You're more flexible. Maybe your digestion's improved. I noticed my pain threshold went up. Any number of different benefits. I'm not really going to go into it more than that. You can research that on your own. But by this point, you should have a really good idea what the MSM can do for you, because you're ramping down now. You've got 20 days to ramp down, and you're pretty much a pro on MSM because you've gone through it. So here again, I'll just remind you that this is a pretty drastic decrease, but based on the fact that it's non-addictive, non-habit forming, I think that we can get away with reducing by 500 milligrams per dosage, a maximum total, I would say, of 1,500 milligrams or 1.5 grams per day. And we're going to reduce that. No need to take breaks anymore, because every time a day goes by, we're giving our body a break by less powder going in. So day 71, we're at 9 grams 3 times a day. 2 days later, 8 grams, 7 grams, 6 grams, 5 grams, 4 grams, all the way down to 500 milligrams 3 times a day on day 88. Day 89, we can't really go down that much further, so I just reduced it down to 2 doses of 500 milligrams. This is just simply to give your body a chance to adjust, not having the powder anymore, and to give the blood a little chance to balance itself again. And then by day 90, our last day, we're just taking one 500 milligram dose in the morning, and that is it. As I said, some people will continue this, would be at this point, right? So at the 5 grams 3 times a day, you could reduce that to, let's say you get down to 5 grams once a day, right? So that would be right around here. You could do 5 grams 3 times a day and then drop that down to do that for 3 days and then drop that down to 5 grams twice a day. Do that for 3 days and then drop it down to 5 grams a day for the next month. You know, there's different protocols out there that you can research. A lot of people have quite different results with the different protocols, but it's all going to depend on your own physiology and your own chemistry, because we're all different. So that's pretty much it. The only other thing I'd like to note here is that this ended up being a total of 1,237,850 milligrams, which translates to, let's see, about 1,237 grams, and that equals approximately 1.24 kilograms. So I put a note here just to let you know how much total powder that you would need for this entire 3-month protocol. You'd need about 1.25 kilograms of MSM powder. The one that I buy that comes in 1 kilogram bags, and I think it's like $25-30 with shipping and taxes. So it's very affordable, and considering how powerful this stuff is for the cost, it's amazing. It's really a miracle medicine, because what else is there out there that's this effective for that cheap? It's quite rare. So I just wanted to let you know how much you would need, and I think that's it. Oh, and one more thing, for anybody who's interested in downloading this particular Excel sheet with the protocol on it, I will make that available in the description. Again, I'll just end by saying, please utilize harm reduction purposes at all times. MSM is it's a great medicine. It's in many ways, I don't want to say a panacea, but it's definitely a miracle cure for a lot of things, for a lot of people. But don't abuse it. You know, abusing it and causing harm to yourself by not following a methodological scientific protocol like this is just going to lead to increased, regulation on this stuff, and maybe even potentially banning it. So don't ruin it for everybody else, please. Take this stuff seriously, use it with caution and respect, and then that way everybody else will be able to use it for the indefinite future. So that is it. That is my MSM protocol in development. Let me know what you think. Anybody out there who is a clinical researcher or who has more knowledge and wisdom on this stuff, please do share in the comments so that the community at large can benefit and we can all learn together. I'm by no means an expert on this stuff, but this is, I know enough at this point to be dangerous, and I know what works for me, and that's why I qualify all this stuff by saying this is my protocol, this is what works for me. But I'm hoping that you can glean some ideas and a systematic approach for your own protocol based on what I've come up with here. And yeah, I think that's it. But thanks again for watching. I do look forward to reading some comments and additional tidbits and golden nuggets that the community will probably throw out there, I hope. And if you have any suggestions, or if you disagree or agree, I want to hear both of those views. Share your experiences as well with MSM. I'd love to read some of those to see what other maybe benefits that I haven't thought of or haven't been aware of up to now that people are enjoying with MSM. I'd love to read some of those as well. So thanks for watching. Be well, take care, be safe, And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.